From a radio studio on Long Island, New York, come two die-hard fans of the greatest rock and roll band hailing from Hollywood, California. Dissecting all things Guns N' Roses and anything else in their distorted minds, it's Brando and Scotto.
'Cause you know what the fuck you are!
And this is Appetite for Distortion.
Try it again!
And welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode 15. Yes, my name is Brando. With me, as always, is my partner in perfect crime, Scotto, Ian. What's going on, Hot Pants?
I'm doing good, man. It's we took a nice hiatus, I guess, because we've both been busy with other ventures and that type of thing. But really awesome show lined up for this episode between Raven and RussTCB. Raven is a personality on SiriusXM. RussTCB is from MyGNRForum, one of the admin there. So it's a packed show.
I like how we have a Raven and a TCB. We're having like Pokemon guests, like there's like all these unique names. So I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen Raven since I used to work at SiriusXM, and I've wanted to talk to Russ for a while since we're both big fans of MyGNRForum. And if I sound tired of this episode, I've been awake since 5 a.m. and I was working with Reverend Jesse Jackson here at iHeart.
Kind of interesting.
I know. So I'm going from Reverend Jesse Jackson to a Guns N' Roses podcast. So it's quite an interesting day. But I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get Russ on the phone right now.
So joining us for the first time is RussTCB, one of the administrators on MyGNRForum, and we talk about MyGNRForum on this show all the time. And I was telling Russ before we recorded that I felt bad because early on in this show, it's been almost a year at this point, Russ wanted to come on. And it's tough to make the schedules work, and I'm just glad we're finally doing it. So we appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, right on. Same here.
It's like the Jimmy Kimmel bit with Matt Damon.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Be the guy that you just ran out of time for every week.
But we have you on. You
don't
have to sneak onto the set. So
and
thank you.
You sent me like a whole bunch of stuff on your background and what you've done, and you've been a fan forever. You're not, you're a guy who truly grew up with this band. So I guess for the audience, just refresh everybody on who you are and what got you into this band and everything else and working with MyGNRForum.
Yeah, so as far as my background goes, I mean, I grew up, on pretty much every type of music that you can listen to. I mean, in the car as a kid all the time was Elvis, 70s country. I mean, when you think like late 70s, early 80s, pretty much everything that people revere now, I mean, everything from Simon and Garfunkel to Christopher Cross to, I got into rap when, like very early in like fifth grade when, it was like very taboo to have even have a Run DMC cassette on you or anything. So, that type of thing, anything that was always like a little out there or a little on the edge or whatever else was always welcome to me because I listened to so much different stuff. And then, where I'm from the Midwest, I always grew up born and raised in Detroit. And I don't know if you guys know, but there's a theme park over in Ohio called Cedar Point, which is like the world headquarters for family vacations around here. And so we're on a trip there one time in 1987, and I see this very, very dangerous looking album cover in my brother's cassette case and pull the cassette out. It says G on one side and R on the other side. And, it's almost fairy tale type of thing. Put it in my Walkman and, you just hear the opening chords to Jungle. And it was like a whole new world opening. And it was literally from that moment on, I was just like, well, this is the greatest band in the world. Just from that moment on.
You said a whole new world. Now I'm imagining Russ like with Aladdin, kind of like, or maybe with Axl, I guess, riding the magic carpet right now. A whole new world.
Pretty much.
Doing the snake dance on the magic carpet.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
I like it. So I guess how did it go from there? Because obviously we're fans and we're nerdy enough to start a podcast, but how did you get involved into the forum? Because I mentioned it to you off the air, how this is just so crazy that I'm talking to you, or that we're both talking to you, because before we even got into radio, Ian and I, we were frequent of MyGNRForum to find out about the Chinese democracy leaks, and this is before they even came back in the new version. This wasn't a living, breathing band, but that forum was living and breathing and active, and it made me feel like, even though we're slightly younger than you, so we never got to see the true Guns N' Roses, we felt like we did because we were a part of this community. So how did that happen?
Yeah. I agree with that too. There's tons of huge events in GNR history that I feel like I was there because of not just my GNR, but all the forums and the way people share stories and things. It's just crazy to get to, firsthand. Even things that happen 15, 20, 25 years ago, people will just pop up out of nowhere and say, oh yeah, I was there. And they'll tell you this whole story. And it's just freaking great to hear that type of thing. And, but yeah, so as far as forums go, what's funny is, just after I got into, GNR when I was a kid, because when you're a kid, the wait between lies and Use Your Illusion is forever. And I know it's funny to say that with the wait that came between Use Your Illusion and Chinese Democracy, but when you're a kid, that wait is forever. So I started to veer off into other things and, got distracted. And I got really, really, really deep into Pink Floyd, right after GNR hit and before Use Your Illusion came out. So fast forward a couple of years, and, the internet's really starting to come out of its infancy, like 96, 97 or whatever, and the idea of music message boards really started to pop up. So I got into music message boards mostly to discuss Pink Floyd, and what I found was that there was no agreeing on anything, nothing in the middle at all. You were just a complete and total idiot if you didn't love the Sid stuff or the Roger stuff or the Dave stuff. You didn't like all of it. And here I was, a guy that was like, well, I just discovered all this, and yeah, I like it all. And I would be told on a daily basis, oh, you're just an idiot. There's no way that's possible. So I got out of it completely. So meanwhile, Use Your Illusions come out, the whole tour happens, all that GNR a bunch of times on that tour. They all break up and whatever else. And then the Rock and Rio stuff happened around 2001. And I wasn't even remotely paying attention to any of that. To me, I went the same route a lot of people did. Oh, this band broke up, must be all Axl's fault. Everything I've ever written says this guy's just the worst person in the world. There's no way that this band is any good at all. So I started peeking around some of the forums around early '02 when people were really, really, really discussing the hell out of Rock and Rio and where in the Vegas shows and where things going to go and whatever. Just to kind of get an opinion, not even really posting, just kind of getting an opinion, seeing what everybody else thought and whatever. So then the VMAs happened in '02, and needless to say, everybody's got an opinion on that. So that's when I really signed up and started saying, okay, now I've got an opinion and I've got to voice this. So I went and saw the new band in Detroit in 2002. And, as all things with this band, you go in with, sometimes you go into GNR with the world's lowest expectations, and then you get brought way up, and then you crash way down, and it can happen within the matter of an hour and a half. Like the show in '02 in Detroit, where I went in with zero expectations, low expectations. The band came out, kicked all sorts of ass. I heard the new songs for the first time, was blown away, and then Axl throws his mic during Patience and walks off, and the whole rest of the band just they're standing there with the house lights coming up.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me on the messages that you were at that actual show. I was at a show that's kind of, definitely not on that level, but I saw Vince Neil once play Westbury, and all these girls kept going on stage, and at first he seemed okay with it, and then at a certain point he just did that like cut the music type signal, walked off stage after like 3 or 4 songs. Guns N' Roses, it has to be a totally different experience. And also I'm thinking Patience, did they play most of the set by that point? Because I don't know if I've actually watched that show.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how the '02 set lists go, but I want to say Patience was either near the end of the set or like the first song in the encore or something. It was definitely, it wasn't like in the St. Louis show actually in '91 isn't anywhere near as short as everyone says it was either, but it wasn't like they came out and played like 5 or 6 songs and then bounced,
Because I was at that tour. I was at the Madison Square Garden show, and then they canceled the entire tour, the show after. So I remember that. I went in with, because I had never seen Axl Rose before in person, and that's kind of all I cared about. And the same thing with you with the VMAs, watching that and him come out, in his Jerry Rice jersey and dreadlocks. And I'm like, did Slash, do I have like an acid trip? I didn't know what Buckethead was at the time. So but I had the same feeling as you, and I started going on the forum more and more. And I'm assuming you were around when Axl invaded the forum, right? Known as Dexter.
Okay, so I was still helping run GNR Evolution at that time, but I had read through all of that was going on in MyGNR at that time. Yeah.
Okay, because
that was something crazy.
I mean, as Dexter. I mean, I was a fan of the show, so that made me love Axl even more. But
yeah, no kidding.
But what made you like? If you don't mind, what? I mean, if I can call you Russ, by the way, does it have to be TCB? Because you never know with aliases online. You know,
got the interview. You called me Russ.
Got the interview.
Yeah.
But
no.
I guess because again, it's so interesting how like why do you think this band, has created podcasts out of it now? Finally, the first. Hopefully, there aren't any copies after. But in forums, because usually I always thought musical forums were for teeny boppers. You're going to go on and talk about One Direction or something. But it's why Guns N' Roses, especially when that band before the VMAs, they would only have sporadic performances and like why? Like and it's such a good forum. Don't they have millions of subscribers too? Like something like 3 million subscribers? Isn't that?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think that's exactly it. It's the mystique. It's the when you go years without doing anything and the whole world still cares. I mean, if back in whatever dark period you want to pick, 96 to 01 or late 02 to 04 or whatever else, if Axl Rose goes out and gets a burger, the whole world cares about it.
Yeah.
And it's that mystique that carries it. And it's interesting because in the last couple of years, things really, really died down, at least in my perspective, when he was out with Ron and Tommy and DJ and the last previous lineup, from touring almost constantly from, I want to say, 09 to whatever, 14. It really, really, really died down. I mean, you got to remember, I went from seeing GNR in the basketball arena, the Palace of Auburn Hills here in Detroit in 2000 to late 2010 or early 2011 to seeing them in a 1,500 seater in Chicago and Detroit within a month of each other early the next year.
Wow!
So I think that mystique really kept it up for a long time. I think a lot of people still really want to see and hear what it is that Axl's talked so much about, even with the record coming out. I mean, a lot of people like it. I love the record.
You're talking about Chinese Democracy?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do too. We're both fans.
A lot of people genuinely like it.
Oh, I love it.
And how much do you want to hear what else is, he's promised? Because according to him, that's not even the record that was supposed to come out, right? So how much do you want to hear the rest of the stuff that he says he likes that we were supposed to hear? I think that's what keeps it up,
That's what I would find out about on my GNR, that I'm reading these Sebastian Bach interviews saying that Axl has 3 records ready to go. So that's where the only place I got my
Let's dial it back. Let's not take anything Sebastian Bach says it's fact.
This is very true.
The same guy that said that my biggest problem with Baz in life is that he described the song Sorry as doom metal. And I don't know if you've ever heard doom metal, and I don't know if you've heard the
Sure,
song.
and I remember him saying that too. I remember that on the forum.
Well, I don't agree with that
Unless
statement.
the only thing that I was wondering, did he say Sorry was doom metal, or he had a song with him that was? Because do you think it's possible?
No, he said Sorry specifically, because he went on and on and on about how he had he had done the harmonies for this song, and it was just the greatest thing ever, and it was just like doom metal, and it was all churning and great and whatever else, and it was going to be amazing, and then it comes out, and his vocals are just buried in the mix anyways.
Oh yeah, you don't even hear it. No, I haven't, not at all. I was actually, because you mentioned Pink Floyd, it sounds like if GNR went all Pink Floyd. That was my first thought.
I hear that.
It was a little bit,
especially in the solo on it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but definitely not doom metal. So fair enough. But I mean, we've heard that with.
But but there's been plenty of documentation. I just said that as an aside.
No, I got you.
Tommy has mentioned how much material there is. Richard's mentioned it.
Right.
Robin, not on the record, but to various fans over the years, has said how much. And even Axl's talked a ton about all the material we haven't had. He said something once about they have a song where Robin Fink has a Stevie Ray Vaughan style solo on it. I'd kill a man to hear that song.
That I totally agree. I mean, after hearing, it took me, like, Ian loved Chinese Democracy right away. It took me 3 listens just because I wasn't sure what I was listening to after all these years. But after I digested it, and really, it's like an album I can listen to straight, like from the beginning to the end. In 2017, that's very hard because it's usually just the singles and all that noise. But
right, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. I would love to hear that Robin Fink solo. I want to see what else maybe Buckethead has done. So yeah, it's 100%, and we're not going to find these stories on a blabbermouth or an Ultimate Classic Rock, unless somebody does an interview and it's out there, everybody catches it. But my GNR, it's like that's where you want to get the real news, and it's super cool.
We do our best. One of the reasons why I came over to help the guys out at MyGNR is at the time they were trying really hard to change their perception because they were known as really like the place where all the haters go, and and don't get me wrong, there is. Regardless of what you may read anywhere else on the internet, there is no desire to censor anyone. I personally have extremely poor things to say about the GNR organization, Axl Rose at times, pretty much every member of the band, and none of us want to censor anybody, but at the same time, there's a better way to have healthy discussion, and there's also a better way to go about any rumors that you've heard or whatever, so we try and weed out a lot of that, and that's why we are known more as the place where when you read something you think, there might be something to that, as opposed to just somebody being allowed to post whatever and say, oh, this is fact because
fake news, it's fake news, it's a lie, it's a liberal media, it's a lie. I understand.
Right, exactly.
I think like the pinnacle of the forum was the speculation of, is this band really going to reunite leading up to the April 1st show at the Troubadour? And I think everybody at the forum had a lot of skepticism because for years it was, when is this band going to reunite? And Axl talking about new management coming in and wanting the band to reunite, and him saying,
with the Doc McGee thing,
and him saying, this isn't what I want. This is the current band. Deal with it, basically. So I'm wondering, at what point did you say, holy shit, this is really happening?
I want to say for somewhere around, I want to say November, probably about a month before, because things really kicked off. I want to say right around the first of the year when like Slash changed his Instagram picture to the Guns N' Roses logo and whatnot. And somewhere around November, it was like enough sources on the forum who have, never fed me any BS or anything, just came out of the woodwork to be like, hey, by the way, this is absolutely a thing. And it's actually, as far back as then, someone sent me a PM saying, and just so you know, they're working on Better This I Love Chinese and a couple other songs from the record. And that one was the one where I was like, nah, I doubt that. I'd love to see it, but I doubt it.
I'm surprised that, because being on the forum, you're a bit of an insider. You're not completely an insider because it's the forum. It's not an official Guns N' Roses forum. But to me, and I think to Brando as well, when I first saw that interview where Slash said, Axl and I are talking again, he didn't give a no to if you guys are going to reunite. He was just like, haven't thought about that yet. And I remember at that point was when I was like, this is happening.
Oh, I was a total fangirl. Yeah.
No. I agree with that. When that sparked off, and I mean, like you say, if you look at the forum, if you go back and look at topics around that time, it was like, 300 topics a day of everybody being like, it's happening. This was everybody that just had heard that Slash interview. But, my thing was going back to what you said, like Axl going on Billboard about, Doc McGee trying to reunite him, and that's not what he wanted, whatever. So up until I heard it from people who I very much trusted and said, hey, this is actually going to be a thing, I thought, who knows, And there were rumors going all the way back to Vegas in 2014, the second Vegas residency. Sorry, I keep wanting to say reunion. The second Vegas residency. There were users that came back from that saying that Ron told them flat out after the show they were hanging out, and he says, "Yeah, we all got told we're getting let go, and Axl's getting the original guys back together."
Oh.
And and a lot of people came back from that. We were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever." And then there was a couple of guys that you were like, "Well, hell, I don't know. That dude's never lied about anything else before." So that was lingering for a long time before the Slash interview came about, and then all the way up until that November when people that I know to be pretty solid sources started saying stuff. I said, holy crap, it sounds like this is actually going to happen. And then turned around twice, and here we are. I flew to Las Vegas. I actually saw David Gilmour in Chicago on a Friday night, and my wife dropped me off at the airport, and I flew to Vegas to be reunited GNR the next night in Las Vegas.
Awesome.
Wasn't too bad of a weekend.
Not at all. And it's so funny you mentioned Bumblefoot. I just want to mention this one quick thing before we let you go. This was like one of my first experiences on MyGNR, and it's like you said, it's like kind of early internet, and this was when I met Bumblefoot at their. Oh, when did they come back? Was it 06?
Hammerstein show.
It was. I went up actually to see them in Ottawa. This is when Sebastian Bach opened and the Suicide Girls opened for him.
Oh, okay. So probably 2010.
Yeah, something like that. I think I've smoked all my brain cells dead. Bumblefoot came to the side of the stage and nobody recognized him, even though he was in all traditional Russian garb.
Right.
But I recognized because from the forum, I learned about him through the MyGNRForum. Which it's just so funny. So I ended up getting a picture with him and a ticket in my ticket signed, and I posted it on MyGNR, and I kept getting called like it's just we need proof. Like pictures or it didn't happen or something like that. And I was just and I was so like, because I was younger then, I was like, why is everyone being so mean to me? I'm never coming back to this forum. And of course I did. But that was like,
for sure.
Yeah, but after that, it was just more of me perusing than posting. I'm like, I don't want to post anymore if I'm going to get attacked by a good moment.
It's rough out there, man. You go into a GNR forum new these days and say, you could be the guy that, it's actual Mike Tech and come in and say, hey, I've got some info. And I mean, the whole world will come down on your head. Like, nope, that's not a thing, But yeah, and real quick to touch on Ron, I got to tell you, man, that guy, that's one of the nicest people I've ever dealt with in music. That's just a nice guy. He's gone through the stuff he endured while he was in the band, and that's not saying anything about the GNR community. I mean, he went through a thing where he had a really, really, really bad car accident. His road to recovery and everything. That guy, it just treated every fan he ever came across like gold. There were times where he got a little bit frustrated with the fan base as a whole and said a couple of things that were unsavory, but he as a whole, that guy is just he's probably done more for the GNR fan base than pretty much anybody else I can think of in the organization.
I will say this, and I know Ian will probably piggyback maybe in a possible different direction. Bumblefoot was actually my first radio interview ever. Nice. When I met him at that Ottawa show, we stayed connected through MySpace. And because I told them I was on radio, and we ended up coordinating an interview. And I met him a couple years ago at another radio station I worked at. And you're right, both times he was super nice. But prior to scheduling you, we reached out to Bumblefoot as well. We might have caught him at a bad time because it was a short email. It was just like, oh, thanks, guys, but I don't want to talk about that stuff anymore. And Ian got, quite razzled by that. And me, I'm like, we might have just caught him at a bad time. He might just want to move on at this point.
Do you do the same thing I do when you get emails from Bumblefoot? Do you hear his voice in your head?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Just like,
hey, man, sorry, man. It's a good, no. No, man, not right now.
He's got a little Dangerfield to him. I got no respect in GNR. No respect.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if
I've got that email before.
All right. So it's
I've been chatting with him a whole day before a show, and then the day of the show, I go, hey, man, I'll see you tonight or whatever else. I basically get the equivalent of, yeah, why don't you go fuck yourself? Like, all right. All right.
Fair enough.
I'll be off to do that then, Ron.
Yeah, and you know what? I would love to talk about this more in depth. We are wrapping a little early just because we have a second guest, Raven, who's in the lobby patiently waiting, and she's great.
Sure.
But I guess, for some reason, I feel the issue with him is that it's almost like I feel he's ashamed of his past in Guns N' Roses. And to me, I feel like why can't you be proud that you got to be a guitarist for what many see as the greatest rock and roll band of all time? And when DJ Ash was asked about GNR, he never shies away from it. And for some reason, Bumblefoot he wants everybody to let it go. And I get it. He's moving on to his solo stuff. I even said in the interview, we'd love to promote everything that you're working on currently, but I don't know why he's so ashamed to talk about.
Do you see us ashamed or annoyed?
I don't know what it is. Maybe
he seems annoyed.
Yeah, maybe you have a different perspective on it, Russ.
Yeah, and like you said, I know we got to go, but I believe it or not, I've got a ton of thoughts on that, and I would be happy to talk about it with you some other time because I don't know if it's ashamed or if it's annoyed or anything. Maybe annoyed is a better word, but yeah, I'll be more than happy to get into that some other time. I think there's a lot of folks that have come and gone through the years that probably share the same opinion.
Okay.
All right, so let's do a part 2 soon, and we'll talk Bumblefoot. We'll talk some other things.
Nice cliffhanger. I like that.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Right
If honestly, and for the listening audience, because a lot of them might be like, why did you cut it short? But we booked 2 guests for this show, so it definitely won't be the last time. Is there anything that you're promoting before you let you go, other than, of course, the great MyGNRForum.com?
Just the thing that we got going right now, the owner of the forum, Downsy, always is trying to come up with like new ways of coming up with fun things for the fans to do. Because, with GNR on the other side of the world right now, the whole rest of the world's kind of left out. When they were over here, the rest of the world's left out. So if you go in and you take a look in the discussion and news area right now, he came up with a whole really interesting way to go about a tour where they're doing a GNR roulette where you can take and bet points based on, if this will happen or if that will happen, if they'll bring another Use Your Illusion song to the set, if they'll, Axl will do a rant longer than 30 seconds, if so-and-so from this band, if they'll do a Velvet Revolver song or whatever. And there's a ton of different options.
That's cool.
Every user can vote whether they're a paid supporter or not. And, they're giving away a bunch of prizes and whatnot at the end of it. It's kind of a neat thing, a way to keep discussion going and whatnot. So, it's still a plug for the site in itself, but it's something neat other than just coming there to post the same old,
No, 100%. That's awesome. I'm going to absolutely check that out. And see, because I want to put some money.
The 800 other things at the top of the forum.
Sure. No, I want to put some money down. I want them to start playing Slither. I want that to happen. They play Nice Boys, but I want to hear. I want to hear some Slither.
I'd love to see Slither come out. I'd love to hear Axl do Slither and Fall to Pieces personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, RussTCB. Do we know what TCB stands for, by the way, or is that
it's an Elvis reference? I grew up a huge Elvis fan. It's everything Elvis's world is taking care of in the Flash.
Hunka Burn Love. I love it.
Wait, what was the TCB?
Taking care of business.
Reference.
Taking care of business?
Taking care of business. Yep.
How's that an Elvis reference, though?
That was his personal motto. He had the.
It's not just
being a lightning bolt, taking care of business.
Because I'm thinking of the song "Taking Care of Business."
Working overtime, workout. No, that's no.
No. Bachman Turner Overdrive.
No BTO for TCB.
For TCB, correct.
That was pretty good by me, I think.
I like it.
Right.
Well, thank you, Russ. We really appreciate it. We can't wait for part 2 of this. And
yeah, right on, man.
Rock on, buddy. Appreciate your time.
Right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Working overtime. Great. Now that song is stuck in my head. Ooh, look who just joined us, Ian. Raven. Ian, do your usual intro, please.
All right, so joining us on the show for the first time is Raven, who's a on-air veteran of many years. I guess the big
veteran.
thing
many years, easy.
You've been doing radio for a while in many different forums, as we were
since
kind
my
of talking
infancy.
about. Right now, the big thing that you're doing is SiriusXM Volume, also on the Boneyard and like a million other channels. You could talk about your background before we start.
Well, I think you just pretty much wrapped it up there. Ozzy's Boneyard. Always, a warm place in my heart, and having a blast right now on Volume, which is one of the newer channels on SiriusXM. So I work with Mark Goodman and Alan Light.
Oh, cool.
And our resident millennial, Miss Carrie, and it's like, it's a good family. And of course, our executive producer, which is Roger Coletti. It's awesome.
And the show is debatable. When is it on for people who want to check it out?
Monday through Friday, 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern.
On SiriusXM Volume, which is what channel again?
Our channel is SiriusXM Channel 106. Cannot say it without saying SiriusXM Channel 106. It's so ingrained, right?
Sure. You got to say those taglines properly.
So the first thing I should probably mention is before this podcast even started, I would see Raven in the kitchen at SiriusXM where I am, and I would also see Jim Rotolo, who people know from Bruce Springsteen's show. When the whole speculation was happening of Guns N' Roses reuniting, the three of us would kind of nerd out in the kitchen and talk about this happening.
Crazy.
And the big thing for Raven that stands out to me is Raven constantly would be asking, is Izzy going to be involved? I don't really care if Izzy's not involved.
I feel, Izzy has a warm place in my heart simply because to me, Izzy Stradlin was the heart and soul of Guns N' Roses. And from day one, I mean, he's an incredible talent, both on strings and on paper. As far as like writing the songs and everything. And he, in my opinion, has contributed so much to a point where you notice that a little bit of that flavor is missing once he left. And it just, call me a traditionalist. Yes, I'm an original for, when it comes to, the original lineup, I live and die for it. That's why I'm such a diehard Metallica fan of the Cliff years. And also painstakingly hurtful when, he left. But the same thing.
He died.
Well, yes, he passed away. But what I'm saying is And believe me, that I didn't realize it until later on. Like just recently, Jim Rotolo brought up to me. He's like, "You're not a Metallica fan. You always have a problem with them. It's always about Cliff." And I said, and I didn't realize that I was still in grieving after all these years that we had lost Cliff Burton. But in saying that, full circle coming back to Izzy Stradlin, I really miss him because I feel like he added something to the traditional Guns N' Roses sound. That's the way I feel about it.
Is it hard to listen to the older music because you're imagining? Because I'm assuming a lot of these people, we like us, we look at these bands like they're friends, their family, and you're losing like your first love, I guess, with Izzy.
Yeah.
So I guess when did it stop for you at a certain point that you don't want to hear Chinese Democracy, you don't want to hear any of the new music? Are you against this reunion unless it's
I'm not
all
against
five?
the reunion. Why would I be against the reunion? I'm not against it. I just
you never know.
Wish...
Maybe after the fact when Izzy said it was a money problem, so maybe you're Team Izzy as opposed to like Team Edward or something.
I don't know what that means, but I know it's a Twilight. I know it's a Twilight reference, but I'm not that kind of girl.
I'll edit that out.
No, I think that I love the fact that GNR reunited, but it's truly not a full blown reunion without Izzy and Steve. But Steve, he has some health issues going on
with his back, sure.
And I don't know if it's a money issue though so much with Izzy, and I'll tell you why. I wonder if it's part of that. Probably, we all have bills to pay. I was mentioning that earlier, but I'm wondering if it's because he'd still like to contribute to maybe future songs, and maybe
I think that was the answer. That was the answer we got. I believe was it from Art Tavana that he said it might be part of just like with the set lists and logos and just sales.
And he almost wants to be a partner with Axl. Right now, it is Axl's band, and that they're playing Chinese Democracy songs. They're not playing Slash solo songs.
Right.
We were talking about we'd love to see them maybe do some Velvet Revolver, but they haven't.
It's just, I think Izzy not solely, but he truly wants to be part of the creative process, as we all do in our own right with whatever we're in love with doing on a day-to-day basis. That's the crux of it all. So you can't blame the man. And plus, he was there from day one as far as when they actually became the outfit of Guns N' Roses.
But he quit.
You can't take that away from...
But he quit. It's not like he was fired.
He quit because everybody was still on drugs, and he had to step away, or he was thinking, look, I'm going to die if I don't walk away from this. That is a huge sacrifice, but he had to save his own life. Now, as far as the band being Axl's, let's not forget, again, everybody was on drugs, out of their minds, making poor decisions. So Axl had to make an executive decision and claim the rights to the band, because the band would have been lost completely. They would have lost everything. So I don't blame Axl there, although a lot of fans throughout the years had issues. It's all Axl's fault. That's why they're not together. That's why him and Slash aren't talking. But I remember, like it just happened 5 minutes ago, Axl and Slash made up. They're friends. And my break was literally, promoters are screaming reunion. Because once they started talking, you knew that a reunion was around the corner. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. And so when we would nerd out about this prior to the podcast happening, as I said, you didn't seem like you were that enthusiastic to go to shows. And one of the reasons you said to me was you were like, I've lived it. I've seen it before. Because Brando and I are 30, didn't get to see the original band. So actually, I don't remember. Did you see the original band with Izzy? Or?
Yes.
All right. So there you go. So for you, it's like this awesome memory of the original band, and you'll never be able to replicate that, I guess.
It was amazing. But see, they were also, they were in their prime. They were in the moment, that the very frenzy that made us all sick and diehard fans for Guns N' Roses. So I feel like I saw them in their prime as far as, why we fell in love with them. And again, I hate to bring them up again, but the same thing for me with Cliff and Metallica. I fell in love with them and that sound. It's the same thing for me. It's almost a religion.
I got to hear about this show that you saw of the original lineup.
Oh, which one?
So you saw several. Let's hear about them.
See, because we hadn't seen any of it. I saw, Axel.
Axel and Friends, as
for a
people
bunch
call
of
it,
times. So I'm
which
like, I need
still
to see
love,
this. But I've likened this into, are you a sports gal? Because
Yes.
I've made, it's sports analogies. You root for the uniform.
Yeah.
And I know it's obviously different between being a band because it's the members that make up the sound.
No, it's not though. It's not really that much different from sports as far as the frenzy and the loyalty.
Oh, no, of course, that's why I make the analogy because there's a lot of similarities. I mean, there's obviously slight differences, but, I'm just trying to think. Being an Islander fan.
Okay, I'm a Ranger fan, so we already have problems.
All right.
Let's not go down that dark road.
Fair enough. Good decision. But every single one of my favorite players from the Islanders leaves. Every single one. But I'm always going to be an Islander fan. Are there some players that come back? Sure, that happens, and it kind of makes you feel happy about it. I guess I like it when they're not fighting and arguing because I look at it like a family. When someone like a player leaves their team, you could talk about now. Charles Oakley is banned from Madison Square Garden. That was the team I grew up with. That's the Knicks that I love.
It was hard for me to watch that.
And
I met him, and it was hard for me to watch.
And I hate rooting for the Knicks now, but that's my team. It's the Guns N' Roses sound. I'm always going to root for Guns N' Roses. I might prefer one version over the other. So that's why I can root for the colors. Axl has tried. He's going from calling Slash a cancer, thinking that Adler was never going to be a part of this, to him joining. So I don't know. It seems very lovey-dovey. We mentioned, Axl coming over and tickling Slash on stage. So I don't know. It seems to be going that route of positiveness, and we never had any of this before for years.
Well, you know what? I think the guys are finally enjoying each other as the real person that they really are, and that's probably a first for them because back in the day, they were all high. So you never got to really see that real person. The person that when they first met in their youth, that was the spark. That's what, made them believe we got something here. Let's jam out. And you know what? I believe in that riff that you're doing because you're inspiring me. So I'm going to hit this note on the vocals and it's contagious. Yeah. Creativity is contagious. And it leaves from when you're hitting the stage and you're putting your heart into it, into the crowd. And that's why your fans take it so personally when someone leaves the lineup.
So if we can go back a little bit, because we didn't get to expand upon this. So which shows did you get to see?
All right. I was definitely, when they shot the Paradise video.
Oh, yeah?
The Paradise City
Big Giant
video,
Stadium?
I was there.
Nice.
And that was quite a story because, we had field tickets and there's this stadium, but we were right there on the field, and it was Guns N' Roses, Deep Purple, and Aerosmith. Aerosmith headlining, of course, which was it was kind of like a whack lineup. It was the new, it was the older generation, and then like the middle.
Huey Lewis in the news.
The middle was the headliner there because Deep Purple kind of precedes Aerosmith there.
And also, if you watch the video, it's Guns N' Roses playing during the day,
right? And they hit the stage and. Let's say there's, I don't know, just for argument's sake, let's say there's 20,000 people on the field and they're all spread out. Everybody just went right up against the stage. And my friends and I, we, of course, we're going to bum rush the stage. And, I'm a Lemoore's veteran. So I'm like, I can get through this. No problem. First of all, it's 90 million degrees outside. And it's hot. It's like the hottest day of the year. It's humid. And, there's no air in there. And we finally get up to the front of the stage and I'm rocking out and devil horns. And what I don't tell you, let me tell you the morning that we had. We all killed off the bottles of tequila I had brought in from Mexico. So I didn't really need to eat. There was no reason for that. And we finished up the tequila, and I think we hit that last night too, the night before. And, the sun's beaming on you, and I'm rocking out, and whoop, fainted right in the middle of everybody. My friends dragging me out. And it was like 5 minutes of downtime, really. It wasn't like, the chick in the corner.
You took a time out. You just took a time out. A little breather.
I got overheated. I drank some water. I went back into the pit. And to me, that's the most awesome moment ever because somehow I wound up in that video. Like for a millisecond, you can see
we gotta spot the millisecond you're in.
Yeah, and you could tell. I mean, you could see how young I am. Of course, I'm not endorsing underage drinking by any means. But, it's like a millisecond. And, as a kid, you're like, that's for life. That's like getting, tatted up by GNR themselves. Like that, to me.
It's like a badge of honor.
It totally is.
Sure.
And it was worth passing out from the heat. And, my friend's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Have a donut.
So
you're loaded like a freight train. That's what you are.
Yeah. And they opened the show, the entire day. They opened it with It's So Easy, which is my favorite jam.
And that's what they've been
Still
opening up
love
the
it to
sets
this
now.
day.
Do you like that as a set opener now?
Love it. Gets the mood going, and it's I'm often put off when bands come on stage and they open the show with a ballad, because then I'm like, all right, just kill me now.
Or end it. I hate when they end the show with the ballad too.
I'm there to rock out.
Yeah.
When I didn't go see a ballad soloist. I went to see a rock band.
There are times for Michael Bolton, and there are times not.
Exactly.
If it's an acoustic set, I think,
that's
you
fine.
expect that.
You know what? You're probably going to be with your main squeeze there, and you're going to make out. It's going to be good. And you're going to hit the bottle of wine later, whatever.
So then what was the other show you got to see?
The Roxy. We got thrown out of that. Well, me and my friend Jared did, because we were crazy underage for that. And that was here in New York City, the original Roxy. And
because we have the Roxy Hotel right across the street.
Right. This is when it was the club. I think it was still on 18th Street, I want to say.
Okay.
I don't know. It was quite some time ago. And, his older sister dragged us along, and they didn't ID anybody, and I certainly did not look underage, back in the day. And it's so hard to tell with girls. And we saw them. I think it's on DVD. I mean, everyone saw that, I'm sure, but they opened with It's So Easy, if I'm not mistaken, on that night too. And that's when Axl came on stage. He had the madcap on and the glasses, and that was GNR in their essence, their glory. And then we got tossed. So I didn't see the whole show, but it was worth it, because I was like, wait, just let the song end.
I love that, though. You go to the two GNR shows, you pass out and get thrown out. That's a Guns N' Roses fan, if there
That's
ever was
a veteran,
one.
man.
I completely get, though, why Raven, it's not as big a deal to her as it is to us, the whole reunion.
Oh, 100%.
When I hear,
to have those
kids,
memories? Oh, well, yeah, it would be probably less than, unless you just wanted a good night out.
Because you can't relive
those
the
moments.
moment.
Yeah.
Sure. And when I hear millennials, for example, say like, oh, I just want to see Rage Against the Machine reunite. I got to see Rage Against the Machine. Battle of Los Angeles tour. I got to see them a few times. I got to see Pantera before Dimebag passed away. So the idea of, they should reunite with Zakk Wylde or something, it's not the same to me.
No,
but
it isn't.
I could understand if you're a millennial who never got to experience those bands. I don't know if I'm technically a millennial. I'm 30, whatever. But like, if you're 19, 20, and you love that music and you never got to see those lineups, I get why it would be so important. Like, why can't you just do another tour just so I could experience this? I get it.
Well, see, I feel that way about Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
Now, we are literally the very last generation that will ever see the remaining members
Right.
jam if Robert Plant just sucks it up and puts the attitude away. But I understand why he's, he has his reservations about it, and rightfully so, because he's still not over John Bonham's death. I get it. I'm still grieving over
You can't
Cliff.
tell somebody else
and
how to
I didn't
grieve.
even know Cliff.
Sure,
but-
you can't tell somebody else how to grieve, but I guess it's so perfect, though, with his son being there.
Yeah, it is. And then, the other members, like Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones, they're all in.
Let's do it.
So maybe also, in addition to that, Plant's voice isn't what it used to be. But go do what Mick does. Go get some backup chicks who can crack it out of the park and back you up.
Well, he did well with that Alison Krauss record, right?
I think so.
I think
but,
they won Grammys for that.
They did, but I also wanted, I don't know, I see her
carrying the load.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like a good example would be Van Halen. I never got to see Van Halen.
Me too. Saw them with Sammy. Never Diamond Dave. Though.
So I wanted to see them with Diamond Dave. Saw them a few years ago when who opened up for them? Cool and the Gang. I always forget that.
I wasn't at that one.
Yeah, Cool and the Gang. And people were complaining about Dave's voice on this tour.
When was Dave ever a crooner?
That exactly. I replaced crooner with Pavarotti, and that's exactly my statement. When was he ever like that?
And you know what you're getting with Diamond Dave.
You and I have said the same thing where you said go see Pavarotti if you want to see someone hit all the notes. I remember you saying that.
No, I think I said Andrea Bocelli, of which I've seen him too.
We're the same wavelength. All right.
You're correct.
But it's the same thing. I'm like, I wanted to see Eddie Van Halen. I want to see Diamond Dave. I want to see these people in the flesh. And that's the same thing with Guns N' Roses. So I had no reservations about seeing it. Even obviously, I saw them with Buckethead. I guess I wanted to see Axl in person, but
well, that's another full blown argument I get into. Sorry to interrupt.
No, and I was just gonna say with that, just only with Guns N' Roses and Van Halen. There are other bands I never saw Sublime, but I would never see Sublime with Rome.
Most people have not seen Sublime,
but I wouldn't. I don't know if I want to see them with Rome. And I've heard nothing but good things, but it's not the same. It's.
Well, he wrote everything.
I guess because it brings you back to a moment. You said these are the people that you grew up with, Raven, as far Izzy, and you want to have that moment as much as you can, but sometimes it's impossible, and you got to be. Sometimes I have to realize I got to stop being those online internet trolls who complains about everything. I don't want to be that.
Well, how do you feel about the holograms?
I don't like that.
Yeah,
that's weird.
crazy.
Even if the family agrees, they're doing that with Dio, right?
Yeah, Dio. They're on tour right now. Just kicked off 2 Thursdays ago.
That's weird. That's just
Dio
weird.
Disciples, and it's unnerving.
It is strange. I got to see Dio live, and I hate to tell you, like a lot of the people are going to crucify me for this one, but wasn't that exciting for me? And the weird thing is, I saw Iron Maiden, Dio, and Motorhead at MSG. And Dio was like the least exciting of that lineup for me. And, I know people are diehard fans. I just never really got into him. Of course, when he played, what's the song again? The Big Hit.
Which one? I'm the man.
Rainbow in the Dark?
No.
Just a rainbow in the dark.
No, the song that he probably would end with.
I'm the man on the Silver Mountain.
No.
I'm thinking
lightning.
I'm
thinking of... the Ride the Tiger.
Freebird? I'm just kidding.
See,
I know what you're talking about.
Holy Diver. Holy Diver.
Oh, okay.
Like, for me,
I was singing that. I said the wrong
song's great.
title.
I'll see that. But,
Diver.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy Diver.
But I don't know. Yeah, but the idea now of people seeing this great band rock a show in their living room as opposed to going there, seeing the actual human being on stage, I don't feel great about it, which actually kind of leads us to another topic that I was talking about with you. We talk about often on the show that you really hope the chemistry between the members is that they really enjoy being with each other and they enjoy playing a show. And so I was watching, of all things, and they've been mentioned on the show before, Insane Clown Posse. I was watching Violent J do an interview with Faygo Lovers, and he is admittedly a big Guns N' Roses fan.
Are you a juggalo?
You know what's funny? I grew up very into that whole scene. I've been to Gathering of the Juggalos
I'm
multiple
embarrassed
times.
for him.
I've been to Gathering of the Juggalos multiple times. It's honestly like a fun escape.
Weren't you guys
Gathering
supposed to go
of
to
the
Washington?
Juggalos, man.
When there's supposed to be a Juggalo March
It's
in
happening.
Washington?
Yeah, it's happening.
September, right? It's going to happen in
think.
This
September.
world is so stupid.
But so anyway, I was watching this interview where they address all that. They address the march. They're currently not friends with Twisted, who was on their label. They were supposed to be doing a show together as Dark Lotus, and now they're not. And Violent J addressed the idea of bands not getting along and how he's not going to fake that on stage with someone that he doesn't like. So I guess I had Brando pull this clip if we can get into it.
Fake the funk. You know what I'm saying? Like David Lee Roth hating Van Halen and getting up there and performing every night for the money. I don't want to see that. Like Slash and Axl Rose. Everybody at that concert watches for any interaction from them. You know what I mean? Because that's what they want to see, that they're really down. I read in Rolling Stone that fucking Axl Rose came up and tickled Slash. That's why they wrote about it, because they want to hear about that. They love each other. They want to know they love each other.
New Guns N' Roses song, Tickle Fight, coming out 2017.
It is true, though, because people, I think the less diehard fans are like, I just want to see this band. I don't care if they get along on stage. And Brando and I are often like, I hope this isn't just a money grab.
No, I want mom and dad to love each other. I don't want them to stay together for the kids. I want them to actually love each other.
I need the authenticity.
Sure.
Look at the Rolling Stones. They know it's a marriage with those guys, and every now and then they got to walk away from each other. I mean, Keith refers to Mick as her.
I know that.
But they're in it for life, and if they need space, they take the space, but they know this marriage is for life. That, to me, I think a lot of bands, when you jam responsibly,
I like that. Should be a bumper sticker.
Should take that, maybe a page from the Stones. I'm not saying it's easy. Who said, being married
so
for
easy.
life, especially when you're in a band, you got 10 different personalities going on, and then, someone's having a day, but if it's worth it, it's worth working through.
Oh, 100%. You see bands like U2 that are still going around doing it with the original members. It's really something else. And ever since this reunion with Guns N' Roses, you're seeing more bands trying to do that. I know the Misfits got back together. Skid Row momentarily tried to talk about that, and then they hired ZP Thwart or whatever from
Dragon Force.
From Dragon Force. Yeah. But I want to see the love out and about. But you were saying, you cut yourself off. Do you have a story about Buckethead? Because I was saying I saw him the first time. No, because there was when I was saying I saw them in 2002 just to see Axl with Buckethead, and you.
I just saw Ashbaugh recently because he's on the road with Nikki Sixx now.
Sure,
Nikki's doing his own thing, and actually, what I was going to say was Jim Rotolo saw Axl and the tribute band of Guns N' Roses, and I don't know, this probably was 7-8 years ago.
I think I might have been there if it was.
I don't know if it was at the Forum or somewhere.
I know I was at one of the same shows he was at, which is at that place, the Izod Center that closed down, and that was around that
Jersey.
time. So
it was here in New York, though. He saw a gig here in New York.
Oh.
Anyway, so he said they were absolutely fantastic. I think I'd like to say it was with Buckethead.
Okay.
When he saw that jam.
So that was the.
But again, for me, I would not go see that because it's just Axl, and not to take away from the other guys on stage, working their hearts off and just putting their all in there. But, if it's Guns N' Roses, I want to see Guns N' Roses. That being said, now that Guns N' Roses, pretty much almost all of them are there, I understand if Adler can't make it because of health issues. That's something entirely.
At least they've brought him out, though.
Right. And that is something entirely different. Izzy not being there, it's very painful. However, should they go on and make more music and praying to God that the Izzy will eventually. I really thought that he was going to show up in the major cities like LA and New York.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping because we went on Slash's birthday. We thought something special was going to happen.
Yeah.
But then nothing happened then.
So were you at either of those Jersey shows?
No, the recent shows, no.
No, okay.
But
and you chose not to?
Right, yes. You know what I actually went to see instead?
What?
Jane's Addiction.
Nice. Okay.
At the Stone Pony. I don't think it was the same exact. It could have been the same day, but it was definitely that weekend.
How was that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I've seen again Jane's in their prime, and when Jane's wasn't so much in their prime, and only one really bad show did I see from Jane's. Other than that, Jane's Addiction is that's another story.
And you left with a good feeling, though, and I will agree with you. When I saw Axl and Friends, or however you want to call it, in 2002 and years later with Ashba, I always left like it was a good concert, but just not feeling like I left seeing Guns N' Roses and feeling fulfilled.
Right.
I felt that way when I left, even though it's 3 out of the 5, I felt fulfilled. As soon as that It's So Easy hit that first song to 2.5, 3 hours later, I'm like, wow, this is...
I felt fulfilled, but as strange as it is, like my favorite Guns N' Roses show was probably that show at the Izod Center, which was not the original, those 3. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but sometimes there's just an energy there that you love and enjoy. And I think these guys are enjoying playing with each other. But
it seems that they wouldn't be together if they weren't touring, if they weren't getting along, because I don't think they don't cross me as suck-ups.
Yeah.
No, and especially for this long, too. They might have just done like a quick little reunion tour, make a quick buck and run out. But now that they're continuing and they're so active.
They didn't have to continue.
Right. And they're so active on social media, all of them.
I'm sorry. I know Slash was recently divorced, and that's unfortunate. And a lot of people feel like, well, he went back because, he's got some serious bills to pay. And I don't think that's the case. I mean, Slash is a stand-up guy, and
He'll always find work, and he has a successful side band now anyway.
Very much so. And I was just sitting with Miles this week, in fact.
Cool.
And he brought up Slash and what a pleasure he is professionally to work with and so on. And I mean, you could see that. You can see anyone that has worked with Slash, it's always nothing but a positive experience for them on the work front. And now that we're starting to see that come full circle again with what is Guns N' Roses right now. And even Duff is having a great time.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. And I still have my fingers crossed that Izzy will. I don't think this is the last we'll ever see of Izzy. We'll see something.
I believe that too.
I'm not sure if it'll be something creatively to contribute to the songs, or maybe just pop it on stage and, there's something unique that they'll jam to. I don't know, but we will see Izzy and GNR together again. We will.
I just worry because we've talked about on the show how Axl did an interview where he said the reasons why Izzy wasn't a part of the reunion, and then Izzy came out on Twitter and basically said, bullshit. I wanted to
equal
be
pay.
an equal member of this band. And so, I don't know, there still is tension there.
Well, look what's going on with Sabbath and Bill Ward.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's more that's more vicious. That I would have, I mean, I know Black Sabbath is officially done now.
Right.
But then other than the final show itself, I was not expecting it because it's pretty vicious that it's out there. But we've seen Izzy in recent years on stage with both Axl's other band.
Which is why we just want to see him on stage.
That's what
Make
I'm
it happen.
saying. It's going to happen.
If it worked out between Axl and Slash, I think something will be worked out with Izzy. I'd like to think that.
You know what? Look, Mama didn't raise no fool here. You could say what you want on Twitter, and you could say what you want in the trades, but legally you can only say so much when you're in a binding business relationship.
Right.
Period.
Oh, sure.
So what they say and what we hear, in the air of the media storm and what in reality behind closed doors are 10 different universes, honestly.
When these five guys get back on stage together and just
I will fall down and die.
Yeah, the roar from the audience.
After the show, hopefully you wait to die.
The night that they do it, it's going to be amazing. So I hope it happens. With the show that you do, Debatable, I'm sure you guys are wondering, are we going to see new Guns N' Roses music in 2017? What do you think?
I think there's a good shot at it if the guys are into it, though. I mean,
and I want it to be good music that pays tribute to that legacy that we love. Because when you think of, I love Motley Crue. I have a Motley Crue tattoo on my back, and I don't regret it. And it's like, when I heard that Saints of Los Angeles album or some of their other later stuff, it doesn't sound like classic Motley Crue. And the album was written by the guys from 6 a.m. It wasn't these guys in a studio making music, writing the songs. And I hope that that's not... I want to see Slash, Axl, and Duff collaborating and making a great album, hopefully.
You know what I'm thinking? I hope... I don't know. I mean, it's a 50-50 shot. I'm hoping that you're right. And it also leads me to another thing, too, which is, let's just say that they make, some songs creatively without Izzy. I can deal with it. I wouldn't want it like that.
I wonder if Izzy has a problem with these guys getting on stage and playing the songs from Chinese Democracy. To him, that might seem like a bit of a sellout. It might be a feeling of this is not Guns N' Roses. This is not what we created in this era.
I don't think he thinks that. I don't. I equate it to Tommy Clufetos on drums for Sabbath. He's not Bill Ward, but I've only seen Sabbath on this past tour, and I saw them twice. And let me tell you something. It was amazing. It was great. And I feel fulfilled as a Sabbath fan with Clufetos on drums, who's from Ozzy's solo. He does the drums when Ozzy's on the road solo. So,
but there'll be people who would, in theory, have the Raven thought process and be like, that's not Black Sabbath. That's not Black Sabbath.
It was the best I was going to get in my lifetime.
Well, that's why we saw Guns N' Roses.
But he was such a great addition to Sabbath, as is Rob Trujillo to Metallica, which I wish Robbie was there back in the day, and we just omit the Jason history altogether. Not to take away from Jason,
but Rob fits.
It wasn't comfortable. Yeah, Rob does fit, and he brings the suicidal flavor of the same era. from Metallica in their youth, suicidal in their youth back in the day. So to me, it works. Just like now, I'm wondering if not Izzy, then who could fill his shoes? That's a tough question. I don't have the answer, but I look forward to, if it has to go down that road, to something just as great as Tommy Clufetos, Rob Trujillo, and alike.
Well, it's a different contribution, I guess, because Richard Fortus has been in the band longer than Izzy has ever been in the band, but I don't think he contributes to the songwriting process as much as Izzy did, because Izzy was like the songwriting process. So I get it. I still hope to see you out. Well, they're not coming out near us, though, I believe, in 2017.
But there's apparently rumors.
There's always rumors with this band.
That
always
they
rumors.
might be playing, New York or New Jersey again. They might even be. Jay, who you know, my friend Jay, said that they might be playing Giant Stadium again. We'll see.
I heard they are coming back to the New York City area.
What would you do if it was just Axl, Duff, and Slash, and in the big band it is now, and you decide not to go again, but it comes out, Izzy just comes out for a song or two? It's so easy, your favorite song.
I mean,
would you be upset?
When
Would you risk that?
When it comes down to it, we all like to go out and see a show. So, I originally when they reunited, I didn't want to see it because, you get those memories from back in the day, and
yeah, I get you.
It is what it is.
Seeing an old girlfriend,
and
I guess
it did not hurt because I saw them in their original lineup in all their glory. So of course you have that backing you up. Whereas Sabbath, I never saw them, so I had to go. I wanted to see that.
I get it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of cushion there. There's a little bit of comfort zone.
We all have our rhyme or reasons of why we love and who we love, just in general. So I get it. I won't argue with that because you've been a Guns N' Roses fan for longer than we have. So what do we know?
So hey, I'm a fan like everybody else. Love, loyalty until death.
And wrapping this up, it's a Sunday. The Grammys are happening.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're going to discuss that on Debatable.
Yeah.
And what else is coming up on Debatable?
We have a lot of things going on. We're going to have, I think in a couple of weeks, Robert Randolph on the show, who's an extraordinary talent. Can't wait to talk to him and his time, jamming with Clapton and all the greats back in the day. So I'm looking forward to that interview. So we have that going on. And lots of music headline news and who's next, who's the latest flavor in music. So we have a blast.
Any social media or any of that to promote before we
because you're
call
not
it a
active,
show?
but I'm sure Debatable is because you're not on social media at all, it seems.
Yeah, I sit on a perch like ravens do, and I just watch.
Yeah, because occasionally I know you don't post, but I'll see like, oh, Raven like this, Raven like that. I'm like, oh, okay, she's alive.
I'll post like some pics of like, I don't know, whoever, like Johnny Rotten was in town or, Stefan Matteau.
All right, bring up the Rangers, fine.
I'll do that. No, I guess you could always reach me at Raven on SiriusXM.
Works for me.
So
thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it because I haven't seen you since I used to work for SiriusXM for the Catholic channel, and that was the last time I saw you, which was many moons ago. Which is also a very awkward sentence. I still can't believe I say. I remember you from the Catholic channel at SiriusXM.
Well,
I have a weird life.
You want to really laugh? I was on BAB and the Catholic channel at the same time, and when I was doing overnights on BAB, you're just doing your thing and you're going through the motions and the routine. And I pick up the request line one evening, and I went Catholic channel, and the guy's like, "What?"
Nice.
Got any Sabbath?
I appreciate that's cool. I appreciate that. Awesome. So thank you so much for coming. Unless you have any other questions, my dear Ian.
Oh no, that was great. 2 interviews today, double show. And awesome to finally have Raven in studio. We've wanted to do it for a while. So.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
You got it. Oh, Raven is so awesome. So good to see her. I miss hearing her because I don't have Sirius, but I miss hearing her on FM radio. Hopefully she gets back on that soon enough. And hearing Russ, I can't wait for part 2 to hear what he... Because I know you were very angry about Bumblefoot's rejection letter. Rejection letter, let's call it that.
I shouldn't even say angry because it's all good. Like the guy can't do every media outlet that he's asked to, and I actually appreciate him getting back to us. So I don't want it to be conceived that way. I guess I just get frustrated with the fact that he seems like he's not proud of his past in the greatest band of all time.
Well, we'll get into it, I think, more with Russ, because he thought that maybe annoyed might be the more appropriate word. So it's interesting because there's a lot of band members who go that route that want to separate themselves. So I think that'll be a good upcoming episode. So thank you so much again for joining us for Appetite for Distortion, episode 15. You can, of course, subscribe to us on iTunes, the iHeartRadio app, but please leave us a review on iTunes. That helps us get up the rankings, and we'll be able to give you more shows. That's how it works. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at The AFD Show. So anything else you want to say, my dear Ian?
No, keep rocking, everybody. Love the feedback. Leave a review on iTunes. We check those out, and they've been really positive.
I know. It's been so overwhelming. People asking for the next episodes that come out. So thank you. We do this for you and a little bit for us. So we will see you the next time. When will that be? Well, in the words of Axl Rose about Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.
You've been listening to the distorted minds of Brando and Scotto, dissecting all things Guns N' Roses on Appetite for Distortion. Follow the guys on Twitter at The AFD Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/The AFD Show.
Thanks to the lame-ass security, I'm going home.